Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today we're going to talk about a song that sort of stopped the world and made everyone sit up and think and talk. It is true that every once in a while a song comes out that you just know people will be talking about for decades to come. And it was on this day in 2020 that one such song hit number one, and this was WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And if you're the only person who doesn't know what WAP stands for, at risk of being censored because YouTube sometimes censors new channels rather than big channels, it stands for wet ass pussy. There we go. This song is noted for being extremely sexually explicit. That's not to say that sexually explicit songs weren't on the radio before, but this one goes into a lot of detail. And unlike most sexually explicit songs, this one is coming from the female perspective rather than the male perspective. There are other lots of sociological questions that have been raised in this. So, for instance, do we react more strongly, whether positively or negatively, when women discuss sexually explicit and very, very explicit desires or commentary or storytelling compared to when a man does it? There are other questions that have arisen about, do we want so much explicit sexuality on the radio? In many ways, that bird has flown, and you could say that it flew many, many decades ago, because sexuality has always been in music, and necessity being the mother of invention. Lyricists have always found ways to get over the prevailing spoken and unspoken censorship rules of the day. So, for instance, this song has been contrasted. There's a comedian who does a bit online comparing and contrasting this song with the late 40s Christmas song, Baby It's Cold Outside. Now, the argument that he made, and it's a strong one, is that a song that deals with metaphor and whose language, at least on the surface, is very wholesome, Baby It's Cold Outside, is very different than a song that talks all about what these two lovely young ladies would want a man to do to their vaginas. But when you dig a bit deeper, it's that contrast isn't necessarily so clear because Baby It's Cold Outside, well, supposedly a Christmas song, it's all about a man trying to get a woman drunk so that he can, and I'm trying to say what is allowed to be said on YouTube for a new channel. But it's basically a man trying to get a female drunk so that he can do things to her. AP, not necessarily W, but I think you get what I'm getting at. And there were people that both reacted and overreacted to various lyrics over the years. There were times when people saw explicit sexuality when it wasn't there. For example, the song that Sinatra and many others sung, Ring a Ding Ding, a lot of people thought that was sexually explicit, but I don't really know that it is. Then there's songs that are very, very explicit that almost because of the innocent way in which they are delivered become quite popular. Just think about the 70s hit that kind of revived Chuck Berry's career for a while, My Ding-a-Ling. It's sort of written, the music is in a sort of sing-along style, and Berry essentially got audiences, sometimes pretty young audiences, to sing a fun-loving song about stimulating his penis. So again, is WAP really that novel? You could say it is because of its explicit nature and its strongly female perspective, but again, explicit sexual music is nothing new, and nor have been the reactions. There are definitely some legitimate things to say. Do we really want something so explicit on the radio? But then again, if the alternative is censorship, I say censorship is always the wrong decision. Frank Zappa talked a lot about how in the 80s, when Tipper Gore decided she needed a hobby, a lot of these people who had no real concept of art, of poetry, of lyrics, decided for the world what lyrics were about. For example, Tipper Gore's group, the PMRC, the Parent Music Resource PM, Parent Music. See, I just know it as the PMRC, but what did that stand for? It's something really lame. Yeah, the Parents Music Resource Center. Yeah. So the sort of bored people who were part of that organization, they looked for things and found them where they weren't. So there was the Twisted Sister song "Under the Blade," which Tipper Gore and her folks thought was about bondage. It was about surgery and the fear that one has going literally under the surgeon's blade. And there are many other instances of this. One of the ones that was sexually explicit that they went after very, very much was a song from Prince's Purple Rain called Darling Nikki, and they didn't like the part where it talks about masturbation. And so when you put it all together, all of this stuff, it's pretty funny on the one hand to see people get pissed off about words because that's really what it is. And if you're pissed off about words, you really need to check yourself. On the other hand, I approach it from this point of view. I hate censorship, and people should be able to say what they want. But if you do think that it's a bit crass to have a song that's all about the most explicit stuff you could imagine, and there's not much left of the imagination in the lyrics, rather than mocking it or trying to censor it or mischaracterizing it, why don't you from your position as someone who can use social media, if you're someone in the music business, if you're someone in the advertising business, if you're someone on Wall Street, use the power that you have to promote other kinds of music. Maybe promote conscious music, music that's all about changing society through lyrical activism. Promote music about storytelling so that people can understand what's happening. The news we know is full of lies. So why not promote the kind of music that accurately reports reality, whether in your community, your country, or somewhere else abroad? Promote or create instrumental music. It's what Zappa said in the 80s, that if these people at the PMRC had so many problems with Prince talking about jacking off and all the rest of it, introduce your kids and introduce wider society to instrumental music. There's so much of it: symphonies, orchestral suites, jazz music, solo acoustic guitar, solo electric guitar. Alan Holdsworth, for instance, that Zappa loved, most of his stuff is instrumental. So rather than cutting down what you don't like, if you want to reshape the musical narrative in terms of what we as a society value, promote the stuff that you do want out there, because at the end of the day, um, propaganda is something that can be used for good and for evil. The term has negative connotations, but publicity, public relations, propaganda are really synonymous, and the sliding scale is less relevant than the results. If you want something out there and if you want to influence things, learn how to propagate, promote, propagandize for your kind of music, because a lot of the time trends exist because they are pushed. So look at who is pushing these trends. Why are they pushing it? Who serves to benefit financially, psychologically, politically, even? Ask yourself all of those questions and do that before attacking Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, because they are artists making their art. If you don't like it, look at where it's being pushed and why. I think you'll discover some very interesting things indeed. Like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.